welcome in all you O9ers, PCHers, junior private detectives, Hearst College whatevers, and Paul Rudd to Life on Mars, the Veronica Mars rewatch podcast where we go through episode by episode. I'm Brenton.
And I'm Emily.
And I had an air bubble trap that entire time, but we're here to talk about season 3, episode 17, Debasement Tapes. Basement tapes.
I was worried about you.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, is he putting on his big boy voice?
No, I had an air bubble. I'm like, this is either a burp or something's
and then you
gonna
clutched
come.
your chest.
Yeah,
and
because I'm like, I just want to get through this. But yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I'm better than Desmond. Oh no, Phillips. Because the only thing that came to my head was Desmond Tutu. I'm like, that is not fucking. Get yourself together, man.
Yeah.
But yeah. Hey, Paul Rudd's in this.
We love Paul Rudd.
We do. I genuinely enjoy Paul Rudd. The episode's all right, but Paul Rudd's good.
Just as a person.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, especially anything he's in, he's either like, I'm just the goofy, charming, like goofball, or I'm like a slimy, like I'm a slimy dickhead. But like very transparent slimy dickhead.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the best one of those is petulant Paul Rudd in Wet Hot American Summer, where he throws a tray across the table and Janine Garofalo tells him to go pick it up, and he like walks over and does it like he's like 5, just like just like grunting the entire way and throwing his body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's great. And he's pretty good in this. You know, I feel like. Desmond, we talked about this earlier. Desmond as a character, not written very well, but I mean, you put Paul Rudd in there and it's like, okay, this is all right.
We were talking about WandaVision and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I was discussing how I like Paul Rudd, but like I couldn't tell you a damn thing I enjoyed about the Ant-Man movies.
Yep.
They were it wasn't even like they were bad. It's not like the one that I was like, ooh, I didn't enjoy this. It's like literally like if you ask me if I remember eating like toast.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm like, like I did have toast with my breakfast.
Yeah, it was there.
That was a decent sourdough. Like
I mean, there's a reason I haven't really wanted to go back and watch the second one. It's like, yeah, I'm sure it's fine. It is the epitome of like something I think I'd put on like, well, I'm sitting on an airplane. I got nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And I don't even fly. But
we don't fly on planes that have TVs.
We don't fly on planes.
When have we been on a plane where there's been an option to watch in-flight movies?
Not even to Canada?
No, Air Canada did not have that.
Okay.
It was a small plane.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that was kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it's international, but it's like international, like
right
from LA to Vancouver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess you're right. But yeah, I mean, in this episode, like, I mean, Desmond you kind of see where it's going, that he's a washed up rock star, and it's just like, well, damn, like,
can Piz save him?
Exactly. Yeah. Can he find the music again?
You got the music in me.
And is, a scumbag along the way. But it's just Paul Rudd being a cheeky asshole. So it's like, all right, this is fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Paul Rudd is, I don't know if I would be surprised by this, is friends with Rob Thomas and the guy who wrote the episode, John Enbaum. So they were angling to get him on the show for a while. And then finally like found him and got him a spot. Apparently they had him up for the role originally for Vinnie Van Lowe before giving it to Ken Marino. Which is, I mean, I feel like that would still work, but like I like Ken Marino as Vinnie Van Lowe. So, I'm glad it worked out the way it did.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah. Well, shall we start?
Yeah. Okay. We can have more Rudd thoughts throughout the episode.
Meaning
I've said
to
my piece.
Wonder if this relationship is you, me, and Paul Rudd.
I think. What did I say? What did I say to you this morning?
I was saying that I thought I was like, oh, I think you have a crush on Paul Rudd.
And I was like, I find him very charming.
I literally choked on my water and spit it out.
Yeah. He's just also one of those people that is drinking from the fountain of youth too. He's like 51.
He's like a Jennifer Aniston, where you're just like,
totally.
You get younger every year.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do it?
Yeah, it's weird. He looks the exact same.
also it tells us that maybe like maybe our perceptions of like what quote unquote old looks like is wrong because we're all just so afraid of age.
Well, yeah, that's
as
also
a
true.
Society.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's more that he has not changed.
Mm-hmm.
I think is like same with like Jennifer Aniston. You just go, oh, well, like she has like a different haircut than Friends.
Mm-hmm. So we start. Wallace and Veronica are watching a movie for Wallace's film studies class.
Indeed.
I don't remember what movie.
I don't either.
And Veronica's like, hey, like, have you talked to Piz about me? And Wallace is like, oh, I thought we didn't do girl talk. And he's like, yeah, but like, you know, Piz has said nothing mushy about you to me. He's acting like his normal self. He's like, why is he blowing up your phone? And Veronica's like, he's only called me once.
Yep.
Odd.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not odd at all. You know how many guys like, okay, so this episode digs into this thing that I've always found so toxic. And we actually talked about it on our other podcast earlier about like this idea that like women don't actually know what they want. So it's like men give us these irrational quote unquote signs. It's like, oh, if I call too much, she might think I like her too much.
Right.
Then she'll get mad and she wants me to just like kind of be engaged. No, I want you to worship the ground I walk on.
God, you should be calling. Yeah, and it's funny, like this is later supported too when Piz, you kind of get the idea that he was expecting her to call and that her non-call is like, oh, I was expecting that you just wanted to go back to like just being friends.
Yeah. Well, or that he was like, I called you and then you didn't really call me. So then like, right. I guess we're just friends. It's very odd. It's why I did things like, hey, are we dating?
Right.
And then you did things like drunkenly introduce me as your girlfriend at parties.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's great.
Yep.
You get the liquid courage and then you start telling people things.
Unfortunately, you didn't tell me first.
Is it working? Is she nodding along? Did she say yes?
Well, then all my friends would be like, oh yeah, you and your boyfriend. And I was like, I don't think Brenton's my boyfriend. And they're like, he's your boyfriend. And I'm like, well, when did
Who did you hear this from?
Yeah, when did
Is it Brenton? Is he telling you this?
When did everyone decide? Because no one asked me.
I knew I forgot to invite someone to the meeting.
I just remember thinking it was really funny.
Right, but it is, yeah, he's just like, well, you know, I am but a gentle soul, so I am defeated because you have not talked.
Mm-hmm. When in reality,
nobody
maybe he forgot to give her his phone number.
Yes. Who knew? So strange. But we hadn't kissed then.
We had kissed.
Oh, well, okay. And there you go. I forgot
it. You kissed me at dinner.
You're right. You were quite right.
And then the next day, we were all supposed to go over to the boys' house, and all my friends were like, you should text Brenton. And I was like, I can't. They were like, what do you mean? And I was like, I don't have his number. And everyone else was like, oh, I have his number. And I was like, well, I'm happy for all of you. I guess you should text him.
Can't call me. I threw my phone in the ocean.
You had my number. You didn't give me your number.
Wow. So what I'm saying is we should give Piz some slack. We're all trying our best out there, and sometimes it's not great.
Yeah. You know, young love.
Yep.
So exciting.
Mm-hmm. Exciting and new.
And confusing.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe he doesn't want me to come over.
Yeah. Well, and to Piz's credit, he's 3 years younger than I was. So...
Yeah, you had a couple years on him then.
Yep, Yep, I have less of an excuse for fumbling the ball, the goal line.
You didn't fumble, you didn't even catch it.
Yeah, just set it down, just walked it away.
Were you playing the game?
No, it's like where the football hits him in the back of the helmet.
But you know, yeah, young love, it's complicated. Poor Piz. But then, so Veronica and Wallace are talking, and then Keith comes home, and he's like, hey, And there's 2 less crimes this month than last month.
Yeah, 2 less robberies.
And I'm running for sheriff unopposed, so I think things are looking pretty good for your dear old dad, basically. I mean, that wasn't verbatim, but it felt pretty accurate.
Yeah, and we're like, damn it, you should drop out.
Yeah, we liked you better when you weren't a narc.
You really suck.
So that's fun. Then we move over to Piz's work. We're at the, I almost said the radio show. We're at the
Sure.
like the media room, I guess. I don't know what you call it.
It's like the radio station, but it's like
but why couldn't I think of station? I'm like the radio show.
The shack.
And Arnold and Piz, we don't know Arnold. He doesn't matter. He's only in this one scene, but I wrote down his name.
Same. With a name like Arnold, you're not going to not pay attention to this. Especially because, like, we
know how you feel about Arnold.
Schwarzenegger?
No. From Hey Arnold.
Oh, yeah.
Was it on this podcast?
Yes, it was. I believe so. We're getting very protective over football head.
You were getting very protective.
Yes, it was.
Football head.
But with Arnold in this scene, you're just like, I hate this guy already.
So Arnold and Piz are having a contest to win who gets to host the My Pretty Pony guy who's coming to visit, Desmond, who is played by
Paul Rudd.
your boy.
Mm-hmm.
So they're competing. It's like a trivia contest. Piz wins.
Yes. And the radio station manager, Trish, is quizzing him. And if we remember Trish, she was a prominent character in one episode when her boyfriend was running into trouble with the football team, if we remember that. Do you remember that?
We do remember.
Yeah. Do you remember who that was played by?
The actress?
The actor.
Oh, the football player?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah, Armie Hammer.
No way!
Yes. Mr. Cannibal himself.
I didn't realize that.
Yep. Oh, boy. And we were like, oh, yeah, Armie Hammer. How swiftly things age. That was maybe 10 episodes ago.
Yep.
Ooh,
things
boy.
have changed.
Yep.
We redact any positive things we've said, probably.
Totally, I 100% do. That guy sounds like an absolute monster and a fucking abuser. So, yeah, fuck Armie Hammer.
Isn't it interesting that he played one on Big Little Lies? Was it Big Little Lies?
I think that was someone else.
Was that not him?
Yeah,
what show was he in?
That was Skarsgård.
What show is he in when he's her awful husband? Isn't he her awful husband in something?
Let's see. Okay. Yeah, that's Skarsgård.
Oh, apologies, Skarsgård. Didn't mean it.
Yeah.
You might be a good person.
I don't think he's opposite Nicole Kidman in anything. He's the Winklevoss twins in Social Network. He was in Call Me by Your Name.
I don't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know of it, but
Yep.
Regardless.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know my white men.
Exactly.
But you know who you know?
Who?
Paul Rudd.
I do.
So Paul Rudd enters. He is Desmond, main guy from My Pretty Pony, who is doing a fundraiser with them because someone had cursed on air and they were getting fined by the FCC. Was that what it was?
Yeah, they were getting fined, yeah.
And so he enters. He is a douchey band man. We go to his hotel room. We're letting him in. Jeff Ratner, of course, is the only employee at the Neptune Grand. Him and the girl who works the front desk are the only 100%. two employees we've ever seen.
Ratner, they talk about how he works like a graveyard shift, and yet middle of the day.
He works all the shifts.
He does. He is the Neptune Grand.
So Paul Rudd's character, Desmond, signs a napkin instead of giving Jeff Ratner a tip. And you're like, poor Jeff, that kind of sucks. And he leaves. And then Desmond goes to go into his room and a random woman is in there. He asks her to leave because he thought she was a different one of his fans. And he decides that this woman who is his own age is too old for him.
Yes. I hate how this ends up. But this was played by an actress named Suzanne Cryer. No relation to John. John Cryer's Ducky. And she was the boss on Silicon Valley.
Oh.
Do you remember the taciturn CEO that ended up running it later?
I blocked a lot of that out.
Okay. Yeah, Lori Bream.
Got it.
Okay, so there you go.
Very cool.
I just thought it was funny. It was just like, oh, okay, like she's like the wild person in this, where she's like the really like buttoned down. I don't know how to communicate with people in Silicon Valley.
Got it. So she leaves because obviously he's like, oh, I don't want to be with you. And she's like, kid to Piz, don't meet your idols. And Piz is like, I'm learning that right now.
Mm-hmm.
So then Desmond goes into the bedroom. He goes to like grab something. He opens his backpack and he finds a robe, but he's missing his tapes. And his tapes are important. So Desmond was part of My Pretty Pony, which was a duo of two white men singing together. And his partner in it died. And so he uses the tapes with the backing vocals of the partner so that way he can perform live. Because if not, he can't perform the My Pretty Pony stuff because he's only got one voice.
Yeah. And it's funny like how they have the later Beatles conversation because like the one clip they show sounds just like a Beatles song.
Well, because then it's like, oh, he was fucking with them because it is like he was influenced by it.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny that it's like, oh, there's this new band that sounds exactly like the Beatles in 2007.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, everything becomes trendy again.
Yeah, there you go.
I had like beaded door curtain things in, the late 90s, early 2000s, and those were popular in the 70s. Everything circles.
Yeah, true.
Flare leg jeans.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that the youths are now wearing yoga pants and calling them flare legged leggings?
What?
So yoga pants, when we were in high school, were yoga pants. So they weren't like leggings where they're tight on the ankles. They were loose because they were yoga pants.
Gotcha.
They're flare-legged.
Mm-hmm.
So the youths are now wearing them, and they're calling them flare-legged leggings instead of yoga pants.
Cool.
But it's the same concept.
Right.
Which were really just like hot pants or, like you could just go through time and just lather, rinse, repeat. Call it what you want. And I'm sure there are some breakdowns of difference in terms of like, which like ones you want to use for yoga are probably called yoga pants.
Right.
But I find it funny and interesting.
One thing I did want to go back to that I had forgotten to mention is the scene in which after Piz wins the trivia contest, he sees Veronica in the food court and like runs up to her and is like, hey, guess what I get to do? And like invites her to the concert, and she's like, maybe, I don't know, and then walks away. So I forgot that had happened. So there's more of a point in Piz's favor of just like, well, I'm getting mixed signals.
Maybe he forgot to give her his phone number.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I agree. I think Veronica is she's like, I don't know about this, which is fair.
Then we get Mac and Veronica picking up food at the slop shop. And Mac is indecisive, and Veronica like is telling her this is a metaphor for her boy troubles because she can't pick who she wants. If it's Max or if it's Bronson. But we know it's Max. Then Piz calls, and Veronica immediately gets on the defensive of just like, hey, we should just be friends, and like it's all right, I'm catching feelings, not catching any feelings. And Piz is like, I kind of gathered that. I actually need your help.
He's like, yeah, I'm all emotionally distant. I'm definitely not emotionally involved in this right now. Which if a man acts that way, you know what that means?
What?
He got feelings.
He does
scared.
Indeed. Yeah.
But you know what? If a man acts that way, what you don't do, you take it at face value. And then when he gets mad that you took it at face value, you tell him to start acting the way he feels.
Yes.
You don't let them get away with this bullshit.
Totally. Piz is the only man, maybe on Earth, and fictional, that would not react negatively. Because he just kind of like takes it in stride.
Yeah. But he's like, yeah, no, I'm cool about this friendship thing. I just like Paul Rudd needs help finding his tapes because he lost them to a cat woman.
Very good.
And Veronica's like, okay, I'll come help. This is awkward. And so she heads over and she gets in the elevator. And Logan gets in the elevator too.
Yeah.
Because of course everyone's staying at the Neptune Grand.
Right. But he like They both nod at each other, and the door's closing, and he like just jumps in the elevator. Like he like pauses in front of the elevator, and she doesn't invite him in, and while the door is half closed, he jumps in. So I put Logan acts creepy and jumps in elevator (parentheses like a creep).
Like his dad did.
Yeah, 100%.
But then he gets in and then basically just goes like, hey, did you fuck Piz while we were dating?
Mm-hmm.
Because like he's like, I know you stayed in that room with him when Wallace wasn't there. And she's like, no, I slept in Wallace's bed alone.
So maybe you are feeling guilty about things, but also you would like to be like, hey, well, you couldn't have been mad at me then.
And then he's like, oh, well, are you and Piz dating? And she's like, no, we're just friends. And then the elevator doors open and Piz is standing there waiting for Veronica. So Logan's like, oh, well, good luck. And you're like, I don't get it. I hope this elevator falls.
Yeah, fuck off.
Just
get away.
Yeah, just no, fuck you.
Unfortunately, not done with him this episode.
So then Veronica goes into the room. Paul Rudd is there. And he was like, hey, are you using Piz to get to me? Like, are you using a nice guy to get to the bad guy? And she's like, I'm no, absolutely not, you creep.
Yeah, what does she say? She's like, I am a child. And
oh, no. That's later when he's she's like, I'm going to help you. And he's like, so he explains to her that like he thought Black Cat 80 was going to be in his room, but it was Black Cat 70 who was in his room because they're all different fans that chatted to him on this weird version of AIM, basically.
Yeah.
And then he's like, how old are you? And Veronica's like 11.
There you go.
And so then she's looking through his chats with these women. He's like, there's a Chinese character. And he's like, oh, is that what that is? And then she's like, what?
But he says, I thought she was trying to write her name.
And then she's like, well, what was in the bag? And he's like, oh, pills. Like, and she's like, what do you take medication for? And he's like, life.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, okay, we get it.
Right. Like this is the stuff that's like, okay, he's not written well and he's a creep. But then like Paul Rudd's like kind of like, he's charming so you can kind of get along with it. But like the fixation on like younger women is really gross. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, all right, this would be so much less grating if this was a different actor, but it's still gross.
Yeah, I find it just as grating.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't have Paul Rudd blinders.
Yeah, there you go.
But I mean, I like him.
I think just his like flow.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's bad.
So we cut over to Dick and Logan, and Dick's like, I'm on the internet, basically. And Logan's like, oh, I need to come up with my business plan for my class by tomorrow. And
Dick was ghostwriting the whip.
Uh-huh. And then Dick's like, well, I was ghostwriting the whip. And then he shows him a video of him doing it and running over his own foot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's on the internet. So now it's getting a whole bunch of views. And Logan's like, do I have a business idea now? So then we cut over to Max. She's with Bronson. They're at like lunch, sitting at a table together or something. Right? Or
no,
they're in the dorm room.
Yeah, exactly. They're coming back from playing Ultimate Frisbee.
Yeah, they did sports.
Yeah, because Bronson's all active and shit.
He's like nerdy active though.
Yeah, 100%. You knew those kids in college.
It's a subcategory that like I didn't think existed until I was like, oh yeah, like that's exactly what that is. Mm-hmm. I was always invited to play like Ultimate Frisbee with people, and I was like, I can't throw or catch.
Yeah, I would like to do an ultimate sit.
What if I just like hung out? Like, is that an option? Is there a concession stand?
Mm-hmm.
Then Logan calls Matt because he's like, hey, I have this business plan and I need your help. And she's like, okay, I'll help you. And he's like, it's a website called grademyass.com. And he's like, I'll pay you. And she's like, money.
Yep, pretty much.
Like, me too. So then we cut over to Piz. He is interviewing Desmond on his radio show. Callers are calling in. Desmond is a gross ass guy. Oh, he asked a woman in the lunch area to show her his boobs. Show him her boobs. And then a guy calls in and tells him he sucks and he's anti-Semitic. And we're like, like interesting that this white man is problematic in so many ways. What a surprise! We never thought that white people were the problem. And then Piz quickly ends that call. And then another call comes in and invites Desmond to a party. And then Piz takes him home.
Yep.
Makes it sound like he takes him home to his room.
Right. But and the station man Trish is all fucking worried. She's like, what's riding on this. We need money. Like, and Desmond also says like, oh, I think the concert's canceling itself.
Yeah, because of the tapes.
Mm-hmm.
We cut over to the sheriff's station. Enters
Leo. Mm-hmm.
Love of your life.
Yes.
If you had to pick one of Veronica's men, who would you pick?
I am Team Piz.
Yeah, me too. But I remember feeling very conflicted on our first watch through, like when I was like, "Oh, but Leo showed back up." I'm like, I could get into that.
Yeah, you like Leo? He's fucked up a lot.
Yeah, no, he's fucked up, but like for good reasons.
Yeah,
no one else has had good motivation to do anything bad.
That is really true. Yeah, Leo's pretty good.
He was like, "Oh, I want money to help my sister."
Yeah. And even this episode where he's like, he's just a step behind. He's just not in on the loop.
Yeah, he doesn't do anything bad.
Yeah, no. Good old Leo. Great to have him back. Even if it's just for an episode.
Well, Sheriff Mars rehires him.
Oh, right.
He's like, good, Sheriff Mars. And he tells Keith that Danny Boyd is working at his new job because Leo works in security now, and that he noticed some weird things with the schedules. And
I thought he said courthouse for this entire episode, and I did not put it together that this place was called Sport House until I saw the trucks at the very end. I was like, where the fuck are we? Why are they like loading and unloading at the courthouse?
Oh my god.
Threw me off completely. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? But yeah, Danny Boyd, who's played by Taylor Sheridan, and so I can't remember when
he's a Fitzpatrick, right?
Yes, and I can't remember if I brought this up when he first was a character, and because I was looking at it, I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I didn't bring this up. That is played by Taylor Sheridan, and then I'm like, oh wait, like did I? And I got it in my head. So if I hadn't, Taylor Sheridan. Actor, he was more known for Sons of Anarchy, but then went on to write like movies like Sicario and Hell or High Water.
I like him.
Yeah, I know. He also wrote the Sicario sequel, which I've heard is really bad. But Sicario, great. Hell or High Water, great.
Sicario's to be debated.
Yes.
I have a point of contention or 5 about that movie.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what that movie's not?
What?
A thriller.
Well,
you want to go see a thriller about drugs?
It has,
and like smuggling across the border, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds like interesting and very much like a CSI.
Yeah, but it does have the right perspective on the effects of U.S. imperialism on the drug war in Mexico.
I have nothing against the message.
Yes.
I have the execution literally is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
There were dead people everywhere in that movie.
Yeah, it was a really tense movie.
I feel like that might have killed more people than like a Guardians of the Galaxy. There was just an inordinate amount of death. And every scene had a dead body in it.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Every scene. Don't quote me on that. But like you could quote me on that, I don't care. But yeah, so it was a stressful film. It's the most stressful 2 hours of my life.
It was an extremely stressful movie.
I have gray hairs because of that film. And so he's like, yeah, like there's something suspicious going on. I think someone's like stealing, something like that. And because when I brought up to my boss that I was like, hey, something weird's going on, they moved me to a different shift.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that interesting?
And Keith is like, we shall investigate, my boy. That's exactly how he says it.
Why, my son?
Like the first Dumbledore.
Is that you? Yeah, exactly. I can't do it. I can't do it. Never mind.
What were you gonna do?
I was gonna do a Dumbledore impression of like the older one, but I couldn't think of the words, and then I just started laughing.
Which from the older one?
Uh-huh. For outstanding courage. 10 points for Leo. Yeah, see, I couldn't even do it because I was laughing.
He's great. So then we cut over. And Veronica's like, hey, Piz is like, hey, I know people that are taking Chinese. We can find out what that character is. They go to talk to these kids. They're waiting for the kids' class to start. And they're looking at the character and they're like, it might mean something or it might mean something else. Or hold on, we have to look at because Chinese characters are really complicated.
And totally, this is like, Chinese, like 103 maybe. Like, they're pretty advanced, but like, it still takes them a bit.
And then the Chinese teacher comes in for the class, and Piz is like, this woman looks familiar because it is Black Cat 70.
Because the character was her name, which was Grace. Because they say, and the guy's like, maybe Grace, and she turns around.
So then Veronica's like, hey, Grace, Miss Lady, why'd you steal the tapes?
Professor to you.
And she's like, I didn't steal the tapes. And she's like, I was a big fan of him. And then he was obviously an absolute asshole.
Right. Yeah.
She's like, but I didn't steal the tapes. Like, why would I steal the tapes? Like,
totally. I mean, I get it. She's like, hey, I'd like fan of this guy. He's coming into town. We're talking. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And then she's like,
this was my primary motivation for probably talking to him.
And then Veronica's like, oh, well, like, he had life-saving medication in there. And she's like, oh, what prescriptions do you need? So like, that like, she's willing to help him, so she wouldn't be withholding the bag.
Yeah.
So she did not steal the bag. So their next clue then is the group that called Paul Rudd, Desmond, anti-Semitic because the character was anti-Semitic. And he said anti-Semitic things when they called him anti-Semitic.
Yes.
Making him anti-Semitic.
Yep.
And so they find there's a group called Semites for the Savior. I
think that's like Christian Jews.
Is it?
Yeah.
I have no idea, and they never explain anything.
No, I think that's what that is alluding to.
But regardless, so they're like, that's our next group is to look into them. Then we go over to our Neptune Grand room with Logan, Dick, and Mac. Dick is watching and advising, in air quotes, on Mac and Logan while they work. So then eventually they make him leave because he's just annoying and in the way.
Fair.
Because Logan's website idea is ratemyass.com, and it is for people to upload photos of women's asses so that then they can rate them.
So he made Facebook, but for literally just butts.
And I feel like, if Tina Belcher did this, it'd be cute. There'd be different types of butts. There'd be ranking of butts and like, oh, what's a perky butt? What's a small butt? Like this is just toxic masculinity.
Totally.
This is not a Tina Belcher butt ranking. This is not a Tina Belcher butt appreciation.
Like I said, this is just Facebook for butts.
As a butt connoisseur, I'm like, this is an abomination.
It is, absolutely.
It makes me angry. And it's just misogynistic.
And it's weird that he thinks it's like this good idea that warrants people to listen to him.
Yeah, that it's like, oh, like I'm doing
Such
my
a
project.
Weird kicker at the end of this episode.
I mean, it's because he knows it'll actually make money. People will actually use it.
Yeah, it's just
because this is for his business class. So he's like, what's a profitable business?
But why would a professor take this?
But Logan doesn't think in terms of rules. He's above them.
Yeah, it's just strange when he's like, whoa.
Yeah, no, it is. So then we cut back to Desmond. Piz walks into the room and Desmond is playing his keyboard and just like fucking around playing some songs. Piz is like, oh, what's that? And he's like, nothing. I'm just fucking around.
Oh, a little this.
Yeah. Piz asks Desmond if he still writes. He says people only want to hear the old hits. Piz is like, you know what? Like, and maybe instead of going to this party tonight, we should like work on these old songs and then you'd have something to perform. Like we could write it. And he's like, I don't have my guitar. And Piz is like, I'll go get mine. You stay here. Desmond is sitting with the TV on, waiting for Piz to come back. And an old commercial of him and his band comes on the TV. This commercial looks like it was filmed in 1982.
Yep.
Is that the point? Was it supposed to look like they were famous back then and now they're not?
I don't think so. I think this was just a hastily put together music video.
And he's like, oh, the good old days. And he's like, you know what? I can never live up to that. So he decides to just leave and go to the party.
Right. And Piz comes home with his...
Comes back to an empty hotel.
Exactly. And realizes he's got his mitt and his baseball, and he's ready to play catch, but his dad's back at work.
Is that a personal anecdote?
No. I'm just saying that's
Do
you know.
we need to take the ball out?
Yeah, let's
we need
go
to
play
play
catch.
catch.
I'd love to.
I don't know if I've ever played catch. Not in like a, oh no, I never played catch.
What a thrill.
Just like, it wasn't something that I ever asked to do. So then, Wallace, Veronica, they're talking. He gives Veronica shit about Piz because she's like, has he acted funny? Has he said anything about me? And Wallace is like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Shit or get off the pot, lady.
They tease each other. You know, a little lovey. Friendship lovey.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, wait a minute.
Not romantic.
Yeah.
Then Mac and Logan, they're working on their website, and he needs something in specific with how the website's set up. And she's like, how would they search?
Yeah. And like setting up, like pretty much.
And she's like, I can't do this, but I know someone who can. So she calls on Max, our study guide, man we talked to at the party.
Wink.
He's
Logan's good friend, apparently.
He's not Bronson. Also, why didn't Mac bring Bronson to the party?
I think that tells you everything, doesn't it? It's probably a good thing that she broke up with him.
Well, we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, apologies. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Spoilers.
I'll bleep it out.
It sounds like you flatlined.
Okay. I was thinking the truck was backing up.
The trash truck is here.
Yeah. It's got some fucking awful takes.
Take it out with the trash. So they call in Max to help. Then we go over to the party. There's a party in dorm room 402 or whatever. I don't know. I don't remember the number. Pish,
I don't know. I wasn't invited.
First, he's there and he talks to Dick, who's like, "Oh my God, you've slept with all these cool women. Like, I'm so jealous of you. Who are you?"
Yeah.
And then Piz shows up and he's like, "Dad, we gotta, what are you doing?"
Right.
And Paul Rudd's like, "Let's all go skinny dipping." And you're like, "Yeah, I'd love to see a naked middle-aged man," said no one ever.
Nothing better than a 35-year-old running naked into the water.
You know what I always say?
Yeah.
It gets better with age, just like wine and cheese.
Let me tell you, I'm coming up on that sooner than I know it. So, woohoo.
You know what, honey? That's your flex. You haven't peaked yet.
Exactly. 35. Everybody's going to see me. Everything.
Oh, no.
When I'm running into the water.
Oh, God. I don't know how I feel about
I'm
that.
like Aquaman.
I thought maybe that was like a just for me thing.
Oh, okay. We could do us too.
A private show.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. Look at me run.
We can just have my parents like leave and use their pool. Like you can just run naked into the pool.
Look at how fast I can go. I'm so good at swimming.
And they'll just worry about us, but it's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's
okay.
They've worried about me for years. It's your turn. So they go skinny dipping. Well, Paul Rudd does. He runs into the ocean. No one follows. A woman takes off her shirt.
Yeah, everybody starts disrobing, but they don't like actually follow him.
Yeah, and then Sax shows up to break up the party on the beach. And Sax arrests them, and then Desmond is in jail, and we cut to a scene where Keith is lecturing Desmond about the Beatles. Desmond's just giving him a hard time.
A great scene. This is a good scene.
Veronica and Piz watch them fight, and Veronica's like, "Can you just maybe let Desmond go?" And Keith is like, I suppose.
Yeah. He's just needling Keith, and it's fucking great.
Mm-hmm. We cut over to Max, and Logan, and Max is like, "Here's how I made my study guide website, and it makes money, and this is how it makes money, because if you click on this, it makes money, and if you click on this, it makes money, and if you route to this, it makes money."
All about that UI, or that UX, baby.
I don't understand any of that.
What he's talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't either.
Don't you have to have like ads on your website to make it make money?
Well, he's literally selling something.
Oh, true. Yeah, he's literally got it on.
Yeah, so he doesn't need nothing. He just has to have people. He includes something up top to make it seem like here's the offer that people want is what he's trying to get at.
And then Mac and Max have like a little nerd fight, and Logan calls him out on it with nerd on nerd action.
Yeah, nothing more jockish than
you nerds that are helping me.
How
dare you guys?
It's like he's like punching Max in the arm while like making fun of him.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right.
We just love this for you.
All right, surfer boy, shut the fuck up.
Veronica and Piz go to infiltrate the club, and
find the supplier.
And Ratner's there. She asks him if he stole the tapes because he works at the hotel, and he's like, no. And Veronica's like, well, what about the robe? And Piz is like, yeah, there was a blue robe in the bag. There was a Neptune Grand robe. And Veronica's like, that can't be it. And Jeff's like, yeah, because Neptune Grand robes are white. And Veronica's like, that is correct, because I was living there. I have slept with multiple boys in that hotel.
You don't know what it's like.
You know how many times I've laid in those robes?
Funny that Parker just got shipped off for an episode.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
You would just weird. So then Veronica goes to the room and she checks the bag, and in the bag it says the person's name who owns it. It is Danny Cleaver. And so
he lives in LA.
And so what happens is Desmond and Danny Cleaver must have switched bags at the airport, and they need to go drive to LA to go get it before the show. So Piz and Veronica drive to LA together. Just a cute little road trip for two people who like aren't dating, but like
nothing better than 2 hours in the car together.
Best friend, like we're just friends. So like we did make out, and maybe more. We don't know. We don't know what happened that night.
No, it seems like they made out and then
they left together.
Right.
And then what?
Right. Shook hands.
I don't think so. They were making out getting into the elevator.
Yeah.
Well, regardless. So, was it a one-night stand? Is that what they're insinuating without saying it?
Oh.
You know, that's what happens when you put out on the first date. Just kidding. Put out whenever the fuck you want. Except for right now because there's a pandemic.
Yes, please. Just test the other people.
No, because they might not be... They might have it.
Right. Yeah, so...
We are not... You can do a 14-day quarantine and then you two can put out together.
There you go.
But so Piz opens the bag. We get it from the guy. The guy's like, oh yeah, I didn't even get out of my car because I've been hungover since I left, and which is great because when Piz opens the bag, he finds a whole bunch of drugs. Yeah. They show tinfoil, which means he had LSD. And
all kinds of pills.
All kinds of pills. He's like, how does this guy get through TSA? It's like, because he's famous.
Yep.
Has money. So they're on the road together. It's all cute. They're like, you know, and then Piz is like, good thing I got the nerve to call you.
Well, they swap stories. Piz says that he worked washing dishes at a nursing home and had the worst fucking boss. And then Veronica's like, yeah, I was on the dance team. It's like, what is the differences in between these stories?
Yeah, they're just getting to know each other.
I know. It's just funny because it's both like, Veronica's like, yeah, I know what that was like. I was on the dance team. And it's like, wait a minute.
No, because she's talking about how she wanted to use one of his songs.
Oh, okay.
So because he is like, yeah, when I worked this job, I used to listen to my Pretty Ponies or whatever.
Yeah.
While I was working because it was better than listening to my boss because he's an asshole. And she's like, yeah, I suggested using one of their songs for a dance for the dance team and was shot down. And he's like, you were on the dance team?
Right.
What? This girl who's pretty and like hard boiled, she also could like dance and was like preppy. Like, what if she was multifaceted?
I will say in his defense, she has shown no love of dance or anything like that.
I know, but I'm just, you know, it just frustrates me that is the way this character is written.
Yeah, I understand.
Some of us like to wear pink and we could beat you up.
Right, yeah, but she has to put away her dance shoes to be the character she is now.
Some of us realized our point shoes could be weapons.
I'm sure they can be.
But so then he's like, it's a good thing I got the nerve to call you. And she's like, why would you have to get the nerve to call me? And he's like, oh, you know, like this is uncomfortable. And she's like, it's uncomfortable for both of us, you know, whatever. And so then they pull out, they're going through Desmond's bag, and he finds a unmarked CD, and it is new stuff. It is marked. It's marked with new stuff. And so Piz puts on the album, and it is some new stuff that Desmond had been working on. So we're like, he's been writing, he's been creating. We find a notebook with some of his songs in it. And at the same time, Veronica and Piz are like, where are we now?
And they're like, oh, this is good stuff.
We cut over to Leo and Keith. They're at the docks.
They're staking out.
And they see Vinny with the Fitzpatricks loading things up. And then we see Vinny trap the Fitzpatricks in a cargo hold, basically. And Keith calls it in that he's like, hey, I need backup to like deal with the Fitzpatricks because whatever. And then Vinny calls Keith and is like, hey, or he calls the station to call it in. He's like, hey, I've locked up the Fitzpatricks. And Keith goes out there to talk to him.
And Sax is like, funny, we already got a call that like
that Vinny is well, not Vinny, but someone has him. So then Vinny's like, Keith goes out to talk to him, and he's like, hey, that was fast. And Vinny's like, yeah, I was hired by the person who owns this facility that Leo had reported to or whatever, to investigate because someone thought something was suspicious. And so then he's like, see, Keith, I'm so good at what I do. And Keith is like, yes, you are, Vinny. Thank you.
I like this scene as like this is what Keith's lost, being sheriff now. Like, he's not like the one that's actually like
doing things. So then we cut back to Desmond. He's waiting on the tapes to arrive. And Piz calls, and he's like, Desmond, we're stuck in traffic. We're not going to make it in time. You should just play your new stuff while we wait to come, and then we'll get there, and we'll put on the old like backing tapes.
But Desmond, don't you see? The music was in you all along.
And Desmond's like, okay, I guess. And so he goes out there, and he does it. And we find out that really Piz and Veronica were already there. And so they turn off the car, and they go inside, and they stand in the back. And he plays his new solo material. And I was like, is this Paul Rudd actually playing? And the scene where he plays is way too fucking long.
Yeah,
it is
very
way too long
for like a very mediocre song.
Well, and just like in general, like this is not a song and dance show.
Well, yeah, but they do this from time to time. Do you remember the karaoke where the guy's singing karaoke for forever? Yeah. It's weird.
So then Veronica tells Piz he's a good guy. And then she grabs his hand.
Oh, swoon.
While they're standing by the bar. And this is why I don't get this whole, like, do you like me or not? Like, no. What is this? And if you don't know what it is, that's okay. But then say, I don't know. Right. I don't know is an answer.
It is. Absolutely. That is clarifying, because then, hey, okay, let's figure it out.
Where would you like it to go? What is your ideal scenario?
Yeah. Hey, welcome. Come on, sit down. So what drew you to the position?
Maybe this is why a lot of my relationships were a little... They were like, God, I'm interviewing. Right.
Do you have any questions for me?
Okay, so if we put you in a scenario where you either have to decide between spending my birthday with me or spending my birthday with the boys, what are you going to do?
Can you tell me a scenario where you struggled to find a gift for a significant other?
And what did you do about it? Did you ask for clarity, or did you just sink alone in the pond? I'm a real treat.
Yeah, you is a treat.
Thank you. And then but yeah, I can't fucking deal with this. I'm like, this playing cool bullshit. I've never played it cool. I'm like, I like you, and if you don't like me, that's fine. I'll figure this out and I'll get over it, and you're gonna regret this one day, sir.
Yeah, you run hot.
I couldn't tell.
Yep, you're hot, I'm cool.
And it's funny because I always was like, oh no, like I'm so shy. I was like, I've never been shy in my life. I don't know what bullshit.
Who the hell was that?
Yeah, what bullshit I think I was playing. Don't worry, it comes with age. You get spicier as time goes on.
That's right. It's like a stew.
I'm like a stew.
Life is like a stew. You get more flavor with age.
I was like, are you comparing me to a stew?
Yes. A lovely stew.
We've never eaten stew together.
Probably not. Have we not? Not a single time?
When would we have made stew?
I mean, we haven't made stew. We haven't eaten stew.
When would we have eaten stew? I was a vegetarian for like
that's
the
right.
first 3 years we
Well,
dated.
We'll make a stew.
Gonna make me a stew.
Slow cook it up.
There you go. I did. We bought that nice Instapot for you.
Oh, yeah.
We can fast cook it. So then, Max, and Logan. Max leaves because he did everything.
Oh, I did want to quit. You get a quick button. Piz and Desmond shake hands like, you're all right. And it's like, you're all right, as they like kind of congratulate. And then the Professor Schaefer, Grace, walks in and is like, hey, that show was pretty good. And he's like, why don't we go on a date? Because I'm going to date age appropriate now.
That's after the Max, and Logan.
Is that really? Oh.
I have Max, Logan. Max leaves. Max asks Logan to go on breakfast
I don't
date.
know
Max says no. Desmond.
I don't know how the time frame in my notes works then.
Desmond
so
connects
apologies.
with Black Cat 70.
Okay.
He says, "Oh, let's go on date."
I apologize.
No, it's okay. I mean, I assume. I don't know why. It's 2 sentences in the same paragraph. So
I bet yours is right.
I assume. And then so Max is gone, and Mac and Logan are alone now that we've done the Desmond scene. And he's like, "Hey, so what's up with Piz and Veronica? Like, are they dating?" And Mac is like, "We're not talking about Veronica's love life."
Right.
And he's like, "Well, I just, I just want to know if like anything happened like when we were together.
But like, bro.
Like, what if she hurt me? Like, then I'd feel better about how fucked up I am."
Uh-huh.
You look for flaws in other people because you put them too high on a pedestal, and that's your own problem, Logan. And then she's like, "Logan, if you think Veronica was unfaithful, you're an idiot, but I'm not going to talk to you about this. Like, Veronica would not cheat on you."
Yep. Great
Veronica
job.
uncovers cheaters.
Exactly. Great job on this, Mac, but like, come on. Where was the rest of this friendship?
Yeah. So then Mac goes to lunch or breakfast with Bronson, and she tells him that she, instead of accepting payment, she's like, "I have a 50% stake in the success of this business," because now Logan's it's up and running, so it's like a legitimate business. And she's like, "I figure I'll have $1 million by the time I'm 40." And you're like, that's probably accurate, except at some point it'll be like butts and butts instead of like rate my ass,
Mm-hmm.
Mac and Bronson are talking, and then she's like, "You know what? Like, I think I'm gonna have to break up with you because I think you're a great person, but like I just,
It is really sad because she goes, "Bronson, you're a great guy," and he like looks at the camera and shakes his head like, "Yeah, thank you. I am a good guy." And then she goes, "But we're gonna have to break up." And it's like, huh?
And the heart wants what it wants, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
but like, I would never pick Max over Bronson.
Yeah. I just,
Bronson wants to save the animals.
Totally.
I just wouldn't go to Ultimate Frisbee with them. You can play your sports without me.
So I think that's another learning experience for Mac. It doesn't have to be, super synced up on this stuff. If you like the person, you can draw your lines on doing separate activities if you really needed to.
Or it could be like, you know what? Like, you really enjoy hiking. So, like, once a week we go hiking. But then, like, once a week we sit at home and watch movies because that's what I like to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or once a month or
right.
whatever.
You find something. But she doesn't want to do it.
No, exactly. And, you got to let Bronson be free.
Exactly.
But I think the writers did this to serve their own purpose. That they're like,
Totally.
oh, no, we have to put the two super smart nerds together.
It's weird.
And I'm like,
just let her. Yeah.
I liked the nice boy.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, then we cut over to Logan. He shows up in business class to advertise his Rate My Ass website, and the professor shuts him down within like 30 seconds because his site is misogynistic and inappropriate. And I mean, the professor doesn't say that, but his site is misogynistic and inappropriate. And he's like, well, but I actually did all the work. And the professor's like,
shut the fuck up.
Yeah, no.
And then he's like all surprised. And it's like, why would you be surprised?
Yeah, you can't present misogyny. Well, you can. A lot of men do. You shouldn't. It's not okay. Then we cut over to Keith. He rehires Leo. And he's like,
woo!
Veronica shows up and she's like, oh my God, Leo. And we're like, oh.
Leo?
And then
I put Veronica seeing Ghost of Boyfriends Past.
I love it. And he's like, yeah, you'll be seeing a lot more of me. I'm a deputy again. And we're like, yeah. And she's overage now. It's not as weird.
Right.
And then I put, will Leo and V be a thing? And we have 2 episodes, right? Like, I don't think so.
3.
Then we get a scene with Vinny. He walks in while they're all there, and he's like, with the newspaper, he's like, Keith, thanks so much for saying the nice things you said about me in the paper. He's like, because it's the perfect thing to start my campaign. And Keith is like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I'm running for sheriff.
I'm so confused. Do all private eyes want to be sheriffs?
Well, and
Does
he
it's
have
more
any
stable
police
income?
experience?
Right, none.
How can you manage a police department if you have no?
It's an elected position, so.
It's so interesting.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. He's had run-ins with police. It's just, yeah. What is the motivation of
Do you have to go to like police school if you get elected as sheriff, but you were never like a police officer?
That is a very good question. I have no idea.
I would assume you have to have some sort of qualifications to run.
I mean, I would assume so, but I don't know.
I don't know.
Let's see. Sheriffs in the United States. Sheriffs are usually elected, although some states have laws requiring certain law enforcement qualifications of candidates. So maybe not Neptune. Well, it says states, so I mean
Maybe
that would
not.
presumably be California, but
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Well, actually, we don't know what Vinny's done in his past other than Private Eye, but I just don't understand the PI to sheriff pipeline. You feel like that would put him off the idea completely.
Also, he helped get Duncan out of the country.
Exactly.
He's complicit.
Yeah, but he doesn't care about that. He'd be the most corrupt person ever and have a great time doing it.
No, but I'm just saying, like, would you run with that secret that could be leaked?
Vinny, yes, because Vinny is chaos incarnate.
True.
But yeah, it would just seem like your run-ins with incompetent sheriffs would just be like, no, I don't. We don't need to do this. Yeah. And same thing with Keith, but Keith's main thing is like, we're gunning back to normalcy. So
we have no normal.
No.
Well, there you have it.
You do.
You have it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you like them apples?
Yeah, that's right. We're just mopping up floors and filling out math equations on the board.
I just, I really like Piz.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not mad about Leo, but I really like Piz.
Me too.
So we'll see. We'll see where our romantic relations with Piz head us.
Yeah. Head us. Head us as well. You want to plug it?
Sure. When I'm not yelling into this microphone, sometimes I'm yelling into this microphone about something else. And that is our other podcast. It is called But Really Though. We research some random shit and then we share it with you.
A fun fact podcast, if you will.
Fun fact. I like it. This last week, we did one episode where I talked about the history of Valentine's Day, and Brenton kept his story shrouded in mystery.
Yes. Violet Jessup.
Yes. An unsinkable woman.
Mm-hmm.
You can find that wherever you stream this podcast, whether it be Apple, Google, Spotify, etc. And you can find it by searching But Really Though. Though is spelled THO. You can also find me on my website, butreallythough.com. Though is also spelled THO there. I am a life and career coach. I help people get their shit together. We get organized. We make chaos in life and whatever the fuck is happening at this point in the world as manageable as we can in a way that works for you. Because you don't have to live your life like everybody else. You can do what works for you as long as you're not hurting anybody. You can schedule a free discovery call if you want a little help getting your shit together. The link is on my website, butreallythough.com. You can scroll to the bottom. There's a nice little calendar. You can pick what day or time works for you. And we can have a little fun. Make a plan. Go for your goals. Or just like make life a little less stressful. You can also get free coaching tips on the blog over on that website or over on my YouTube channel. It is But Really Though, spelled just like the website. Or you can follow me on Instagram at But Really Though. It is at BTRLY. THO.
You can find this podcast on Twitter and Facebook at Mars Rewatch. You can also send us an email at marsrewatch@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter at Pyle Breton. That's PYLEBRANTON. And you can also find our Let's Play over on my YouTube channel, Burger Discourse. We just finished up Mutineer Zero, and we'll be starting a new one on Outer Wilds the next week. So come join us there. Oh, yep, I think that's it.
All right. Stay toasted, Marshall.